Tattoos have had a cultural and social significance across the world for thousands of years. Over time, the meaning of the tattoo has varied greatly. The first tattoo was discovered on the mummified body of Utsi the Iceman in the Alps, dating back to 3300 BC. His 57 tattoos consisted of horizontal, vertical lines, and random dots located on various joints across his body. The most famous illustration of tattoos was those of the Egyptians, dated back to 2000 BC. These tattoos were an exclusive female practice that represented pregnancy and birth. Common patterns, such as a net-like image, were drawn on the abdomen and breasts and expanded in a protected fashion as women grew during pregnancy. Furthermore, tattoos entered Western culture during the rise of colonialism. Sailors were one of the first to integrate them during the time between World War I and World War II. They were thought to be patriotic, especially in the United States. After World War II, tattoo popularity started to decline in America as they lost their nationalist appeal and became instead associated with bikers and criminals who appeared defiant and rebellious. They started to become a very masculine trend as tattoos became less and less of a working class mark to a middle class form of artistic expression. The formation of the female identity throughout tattoos has changed a great deal throughout history. The first public depiction of female tattoos was on a circus lady. These women were marked attractions on display at freak shows in the late 19th century. They would be inked from head to toe for the sole purpose of a costume for a job. The identity of a circus lady was not associated with liberalization and respect, but of capitalism and a business investment. It was not until socialite women began to take interest in the tattoo culture did it start to have a positive association. Tattooing experienced a revival during the 1920s and the suffrage movement. It became popular among the upper classes to have a tattoo. This was a challenge for women's self-identification as women were preferred to be pure and unmarked. Tattoos were not hidden behind clothes in the 1920s, countering this idea of feminine conformity seen a century before. Fast forward to the late 1960s, women were questioning their gender, and a radical reaction was to go get a tattoo to become different and counter the norm. Men got tattooed just to get tattooed, whereas almost all women were getting ink for a reason. They were no longer a form of art, it is a stain on the pure skin of a woman. The rise of the punk age popularized tattoos as a rebellious fashion in the 1980s. Women were more aware of their power and got visible and larger tattoos on their skin. Additionally, they started to reconsider the placement of their tattoos more in terms of the image and identity they wanted to give off to society. Women are heavily scrutinized for the areas of which they place tattoos. There are girly places such as the wrist, ankle, and shoulder, and more provocative places such as the pelvic bone and lower back. Depending on where the tattoo is placed, the implications are more or less unforgiving. The tramp stamp is assumed to have associations with sexual liberation, curiosity, and confidence, typically viewed in a negative light though. This was another obstacle of tattoos on women, as the tramp stamp was both liberating for the female gender identity, but there was still going to be judgment from the public. Tattoos are a gendered concept, having an impact on our identity as humans. Women took much of the burden as tattoos evolved over time, as they were expected to justify their choice no matter how society was reforming. There is much cultural significance of tattoos across the world, but in the West, tattoos went from a notion of patriotism to a mark of rebellion to a form of artistic expression and a fashion statement. Women with tattoos were once attractions, making a profit, radicalist, tramps, and eventually transformed into statements of uniqueness and creativity. After this examination into the history of the art and gender, we can see that women have and are still fighting to reclaim tattoos for themselves. Many people thought that getting a tattoo as a woman was essentially ruining your status in society, although it was finally time tattoos became a genderless activity.